Life can often feel overwhelming, like we're carrying a heavy load with no end in sight. Have you ever felt that way? Like no matter what you do, the challenges just keep piling up. Maybe it's a financial struggle, a difficult relationship, or a personal battle you've been fighting for far too long. In moments like these, it's easy to feel defeated, even hopeless. But what if I told you that some of the greatest lessons in resilience, hope, and persistence could come from the smallest creatures around us, ants? Yes, ants. These tiny beings, often overlooked, hold profound wisdom that can guide us through life's toughest times. Today on the path to Buddhist wisdom, we'll explore a timeless story shared by a Buddhist monk, a story about a man who learned life-changing lessons simply by observing ants. And along the way, we'll uncover two powerful truths that can help you not just survive but thrive in even the hardest moments of your life. Stay with me, because these insights might just transform the way you view your struggles. By the end of this video, you'll understand how Buddhist wisdom can offer you strength, clarity, and peace, no matter what you're facing. Let's begin this journey together. Part 1. The Unhappy Man's Plea for Help. Once, a man burdened by life's relentless challenges sought guidance from a Buddhist monk. His days were consumed by despair, his family was unhappy, his financial troubles seemed insurmountable, and his own heart was heavy with hopelessness. One day, unable to bear the weight of his struggles any longer, he approached the monk and said, "I'm at the end of my rope. My wife and children are unhappy. I can't provide for them, let alone for myself. Sometimes, I feel like life isn't worth living anymore. Please, show me a way out of this misery. Teach me how to endure these difficult times and make my family happy." The monk listened attentively, his face calm and serene. The man continued, "But please, make your advice simple. I'm not an educated man, and I won't understand complicated philosophy. I just need something I can follow easily." The monk smiled warmly, his eyes filled with compassion, and said, "I can help you, but first, you must do something for me. It's a simple task." The man leaned forward, eager for guidance. The monk pointed to a hill in the distance and explained, "On that hill, near a temple, there is an ant hill where thousands of ants live. For the next 7 days, I want you to go there and destroy that ant hill." But the monk emphasized, "You must not kill a single ant while doing so. Break it down, but do not harm them." The man was puzzled. Why would a monk, known for his wisdom and compassion, ask him to do something like this? Still, desperate for answers, he agreed. Though unsure of the purpose, he resolved to carry out the monk's request. The first encounter with the ant hill. The next morning, the man climbed the hill and found the ant hill exactly where the monk had described it. As he stood there, he noticed the ants scurrying around in neat lines, tirelessly carrying grains and materials to their tiny home. His heart softened. These ants are so busy building their home. If I destroy it, Won't they feel pain and despair just like I do, he thought to himself. But he remembered the monk's instructions and reluctantly began dismantling the ant hill. As his hands destroyed the carefully built structure, chaos erupted. The ants scattered, their organized lines broken, their work undone. Watching their frantic attempts to save their home, the man felt a pang of guilt. That night, as he lay in bed, the sight of the ants haunted him. He thought, why would the monk ask me to do this? Am I really helping myself by harming these tiny creatures? The daily struggle. The man returned to the hill the next day, only to find that the ants had rebuilt their home overnight. This time, he was amazed. How could they work so tirelessly, even after everything they lost, he wondered. Still, he began to destroy the ant hill again, this time pouring cold water on the ground to prevent the ants from rebuilding. But with every passing day, his task became harder, not physically, but emotionally. He couldn't help but feel that what he was doing was wrong. Yet he persisted, driven by his promise to the monk. An inner conflict emerges. As the days went on, the man's thoughts grew heavier. He began questioning everything. Am I cruel for destroying their home? Is the monk testing my compassion? Or is this task meant to teach me something deeper? By the fourth day, his emotions boiled over. In his frustration, he accidentally harmed some ants. The sight of their tiny bodies broke his heart. That night, he resolved to stop harming them. Instead, he decided to help the ants. The next day, he brought flour from his home and began feeding the ants instead of destroying their work. Reflection. By the seventh day, the man felt a profound shift within himself. He realized that his journey wasn't just about following the monk's orders, it was about observing, learning, and reflecting on life's struggles through the ants. With this newfound perspective, he returned to the monk, ready to share his experience. Part 2: The Wisdom of the Buddhist Monk. After 7 days of struggle, reflection, and an unexpected change of heart, the man returned to the Buddhist monk. Bowing respectfully, he confessed, "Oh, wise one, I tried to do as you asked. I destroyed the ants' home, not once but many times. But with each passing day, it became harder for me to carry out your task. By the fourth day, I couldn't bear to harm them anymore. Instead, I began feeding them. I realized I had failed to complete your task. Please forgive me." The monk's face softened with a knowing smile. Handing the man a glass of water, the monk invited him to sit. "My child," he said calmly, "you think you failed, but you have actually succeeded. Now tell me, why couldn't you continue destroying the ants' home?" The man paused, reflecting deeply before answering. "At first, I felt pity for the ants. They worked so hard to build their home, and yet I kept destroying it. But what struck me most was their determination. No matter how many times I tore their home apart, they rebuilt it the very next day. They never gave up. Over time, I began to admire them. And then, when I accidentally harmed them in my anger, I realized how cruel I had been. I couldn't bring myself to hurt them anymore. That's when I decided to help them instead." The monk nodded, his expression one of quiet pride. "And what did you learn from observing the ants?" he asked gently. "The first lesson, resilience and persistence." The man replied thoughtfully, "The ants taught me something I had forgotten about myself. that no matter how many times life knocks you down, you must keep rebuilding. They showed me that giving up isn't an option. If something is destroyed, you try again, and again, and again, until you succeed. Those ants are so small, yet their spirit is unshakable. I realized that while I've been overwhelmed by my problems, I've forgotten how to keep trying. Instead, I've been stuck in despair, ready to give up at the slightest difficulty. The monk's eyes twinkled as he responded, "Exactly. Life will test you, just as you tested the ants. Your struggles may feel endless, but they are not permanent. When you stop trying, you surrender to defeat. But those who persist, like the ants, find a way forward, no matter how difficult the path may seem. Life is about action. To stop trying is to stop living." The man nodded, the monk's words resonating deeply with him. For the first time, he felt a glimmer of hope that perhaps his own struggles could be overcome with persistence and patience. The second lesson, the temporary nature of struggles. The monk continued, "Did you notice how, even after you destroyed their home, the ants didn't waste time mourning their loss? They immediately began rebuilding. Why do you think that is?" The man thought for a moment before replying, "I suppose it's because they understand that their survival depends on it. They don't dwell on their loss, they just keep working." The monk smiled. "Exactly. The ants know that their current challenge is temporary. They trust that if they keep working, they will eventually succeed. But we humans often forget this. When we face difficult times, we cling to the pain, believing it will never end. Our hearts grow heavy, and we stop trying. But, my child, no struggle lasts forever. Just as you saw the ants rebuild their home over and over, your own life can be rebuilt, no matter how many times it is shaken." The man's eyes widened as realization dawned upon him. He remembered how he had felt when he saw the ants rebuilding each day. At the time, he had dismissed their efforts as foolish, but now he saw their actions as a powerful reminder: challenges are fleeting, and perseverance is the key to overcoming them. Nature's reward for effort. The monk leaned forward, his voice gentle but firm. "Do you remember what happened after you stopped destroying the ants' home and began feeding them instead?" The man nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "Yes. The ants became calm. They no longer scattered in fear when I approached. It felt as if they trusted me, and I felt happier knowing I was helping them instead of harming them." The monk's smile deepened. "That is another lesson. When you persist with compassion and hard work, life, like nature, will reward you. The ants didn't need to fear you anymore because they saw your kindness. Similarly, if you approach your struggles with patience and persistence, the universe will one day turn its favor toward you. Just as you fed the ants and gave them peace, life will give you the peace and happiness you seek." The man felt a wave of emotion. For so long, he had believed that life was against him, that his problems would never end. But now, he saw his struggles in a new light, not as obstacles meant to defeat him, but as challenges meant to strengthen him. Reflection, the monk's final words. The monk concluded, "My child, the two greatest lessons you must carry with you are these. First, never give up. No matter how many times life tears you down, rise again, just as the ants did. And second, remember that no challenge is permanent. Your hardships, no matter how heavy they seem, will pass. It is your determination and effort that will bring you through to the other side." The man bowed deeply, tears of gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you, wise one. I came here seeking answers to my problems, but you have given me so much more. I now see that the strength I need has been within me all along. I just need to keep trying." The monk smiled, watching as the man walked away, his steps lighter and his heart filled with hope. Part 3: Real-life applications and stories of resilience. With the lessons of persistence and the temporary nature of struggles firmly planted in the man's mind, the story doesn't end here. These timeless teachings are universal and can be applied to many situations in our daily lives. Let us now explore how these lessons can transform not just one man's life, but anyone's life, including yours. Real-life application #1: Overcoming financial hardships. Imagine a family struck by financial difficulties. Perhaps they've lost their primary source of income, or a business they've poured their heart into has failed. It's easy to fall into despair, just as the man did before meeting the Buddhist monk. But what if they took inspiration from the ants? Instead of being paralyzed by fear and hopelessness, they could start small, rebuilding their financial foundation step by step. A parent might take on temporary jobs while pursuing new skills. A student might cut unnecessary expenses and find creative ways to support their education. Take, for example, the story of J.K. Rowling, who was once a single mother living on welfare. She faced rejection after rejection from publishers but never gave up. She kept writing, kept trying, and eventually, her perseverance paid off, giving the world Harry Potter and inspiring millions. Just like the ants, she kept rebuilding, no matter how many obstacles she faced. The lesson: challenges in life are inevitable, but they are never permanent. With effort, patience, and resilience, even the most daunting financial hardships can be overcome. Real-life application #2: Navigating personal relationships. In relationships, conflicts and misunderstandings are common. There are moments when things fall apart, words are spoken in anger, trust is broken, or distance grows. At such times, it's tempting to give up, believing the relationship is beyond repair. But here, too, the ants teach us a powerful lesson. If they can rebuild their home over and over, why can't we rebuild trust and understanding in our relationships? It requires effort, communication, and, most importantly, patience. Consider the story of a couple who faced years of struggle due to financial stress, personal differences, and emotional distance. At one point, separation seemed inevitable. But instead of giving up, they chose to rebuild. They sought counseling, communicated honestly, and worked together to overcome their challenges. Today, they look back on those difficult years as the foundation for a stronger, more loving partnership. The key takeaway? Like the ants, we must persist in nurturing the relationships that matter most to us. Even when things seem broken, there is always hope for renewal. Real-life application #3: Pursuing dreams against all odds. Sometimes, life tests us the hardest when we're pursuing our dreams. Roadblocks appear, failures pile up, and the journey can feel endless. Many people abandon their dreams at this point, thinking, it's just not meant to be. But what if Thomas Edison had thought that way? He failed over 1,000 times while inventing the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he famously said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Like the ants, Edison's relentless spirit eventually led to success. The lesson here is clear: failure isn't the end, it's just a stepping stone. Every setback is an opportunity to learn, adapt, and come back stronger. The only way to truly fail is to stop trying. A story of resilience, the bamboo tree. Let me share another story that beautifully mirrors the lesson of persistence. In Japan, there's a species of bamboo tree that takes years to grow. After planting the seed, nothing seems to happen for the first 5 years. No shoots, no visible progress. But during that time, the tree is growing an extensive root system underground. Then, in the 5th year, something miraculous happens. The bamboo tree suddenly shoots up, growing over 80 feet in just 6 weeks. This story reminds us that persistence often works in unseen ways. Just like the bamboo tree, the efforts we put in today may not yield immediate results, but they are laying the foundation for future growth. The ant's spirit in our own lives. The ant's story is not just about hard work, it's about hope, resilience, and faith in the process. Here's how we can embody their spirit in our daily lives. Start small, but stay consistent, whether it's rebuilding after a failure or taking the first step toward a goal. Small, consistent actions lead to big results. Embrace setbacks as part of growth. Just as the ants don't stop when their home is destroyed, we shouldn't stop when life challenges us. Every setback is a chance to learn and grow. Stay focused on what matters. The ants never lose sight of their purpose, and neither should we. Keep your eyes on your goals, and let that purpose drive you forward. Conclusion: the power of Buddhist wisdom. In the end, the Buddhist monk's teachings transcend the man's struggles. They serve as a guide for all of us. Life, like nature, is filled with challenges. Yet, just as the ants persist and adapt, we, too, have the power to rise above our difficulties. When faced with tough times, remember the 2 lessons. Never give up. Resilience is your greatest strength. Challenges are temporary. With persistence, they can, and will, be overcome. As you go forward in your journey, take inspiration from the ants and trust in your ability to rebuild, no matter how many times life tries to knock you down. The spirit of the ants lives in all of us, it's up to us to awaken it. Part 4, Bringing it all together. As we come to the end of this journey, it's important to reflect on the wisdom we've uncovered. The story of the unhappy man, the Buddhist monk, and the resilient ants isn't just a tale from the past, it's a mirror for our own lives. Every struggle we face, every setback we endure, holds the potential to teach us something profound. The lessons of persistence and the fleeting nature of hardships are not just Buddhist teachings, they are universal truths. Whether you're climbing out of financial hardship, repairing a broken relationship, or chasing a dream that seems out of reach, the same principles apply. The ants taught us to keep going, no matter how many times life pushes us down. That challenges are temporary, and persistence will always lead to progress. Compassion and kindness often emerge when we embrace resilience. Every challenge we face is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Life is not about avoiding struggles, it's about learning how to face them with grace, determination, and hope. A final story, the unshakable tree. Before we conclude, Let me leave you with one final analogy. Picture a tree in the middle of a storm. The winds howl, the rain lashes, and yet the tree bends but does not break. Its roots, deep and strong, keep it grounded. When the storm passes, the tree stands tall once more, ready to face the next challenge. We are like that tree. The storms in our lives may shake us, but they cannot break us, so long as we hold on, stay grounded, and keep growing. Just like the ants rebuilt their home after every setback, and just like the bamboo tree prepared underground for years before reaching great heights, you, too, have the power to rise, rebuild, and thrive. Call to action: join us on the path to Buddhist wisdom. If this story resonated with you, if you felt inspired or gained even a small spark of hope, I encourage you to take the next step in your journey. On the path to Buddhist wisdom, we explore timeless teachings, inspiring stories, and practical lessons that can help us navigate the challenges of life with peace, strength, and clarity. Here's how you can be part of this journey. Subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll gain access to more stories and insights that can transform the way you see the world. Like this video, if this message touched your heart, let us know by giving it a thumbs up. It helps us reach more people who may need this wisdom in their lives. Share your thoughts. What challenges are you facing? How do you find strength in difficult times? Let us know in the comments below. Your story could inspire someone else. Remember, life is a journey, and every step you take brings you closer to the peace and wisdom you seek. Together, we can learn, grow, and thrive. Thank you for being here today, and until next time, keep walking the path to Buddhist wisdom. See you in the next video.